So.
Like, I know cops are getting a bad rep in New York and stuff because of Occupy Wall Street and
Sure.
brutality. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I would never comment specifically on anything that happened, like at a specific instance, because if I'm not there, I don't know what the circumstances are and why an officer would make a choice to do a certain thing.
Like, do you think it's fair that you're getting that cops are getting all the criticism? I mean, are they just trying to follow protocol, or
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would say that's really important to remember is that every time a cop is like sent to some event like that to deal with protesters or people who are rioting, whatever the case is, there's somebody who gets paid a lot more money than them that's in charge of them that's telling them to go do that. And so the officers that are on the ground that are dealing with those situations are just doing their job and doing what they were told to do. And another thing to remember is that, so when you get in a situation, particularly when you have a large crowd of people that are really angry and don't usually like the cops and are sometimes throwing things, assaulting cops and things like that, the police officers are going to do everything they can, obviously, to resolve that problem without hurting anybody and stuff like that. But unfortunately, when we're receiving violence, sometimes we have to use violence to try to control the situation. And it's not something that we like to do. And then it's not only that, but you kind of, as a police officer, you sort of have to think like a lawyer in the middle of an emergency situation while somebody's screaming and yelling in your face and sometimes running at you and trying to hit you or throwing something at you, and we're only human, you know what I mean? And so there are going to be times when, maybe when you look at something that happened after the fact, you go, oh gosh, look at, how that cop reacted and stuff like that. But the truth is, unless you're in the situation and you know exactly what happened, I would be careful about judging, like what that police officer did. Try to think about what you would feel like in that situation where you're getting attacked or you're getting things thrown at you or whatever the case is. So
yeah, it'd be pretty bad if that happened here.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think for police officers, I'd say like a mob situation or a riot or anything like that is probably like the scariest thing, because almost inevitably the police officers are usually outnumbered.
Yeah.
So obviously we bring certain weapons to, we have things that we can use like, tear gas and, things like that to kind of help us. But at the same time, ultimately, if like a huge mob of people decides to just go crazy and attack the cops, they probably could overpower the cops. You know what I mean? And so that's a really scary situation to go into as a police officer. So I hope to never have to really deal with that. I did go to Oakland when they had those riots in regard to what happened with the BART officer and all that. But I wasn't actually in the groups of people that were dealing with the rioters themselves. We were kind of protecting a certain area of the city in Oakland. But yeah, that's the scariest kind of situation, I think, for a police officer.